find the portal that suits your costume. Once you have located your friends, you can use the magic bubble wand to return them home.
Just call me Spongebob SquarePants.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. It is your favorite fry cook again. Today we are sitting down to talk yet again about another SpongeBob SquarePants video game. Now, last time we sat down, we talked about this gem right here, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, which I personally believe is the best 3D platformer of all time. You want to learn more? Go check out that video. However, the developers behind the remake, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, have developed a brand new SpongeBob game called SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. That developer is Purple Lamp, and honestly, I don't care if I'm 27, I was ridiculously excited for Cosmic Shake. Now, THQ Nordic provided me the review code well over a week ahead of the game's launch. I had plenty of time to go through Cosmic Shake. It's out for $40 on January 31st. I played on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm really excited to share some of my thoughts today, because in my opinion, we haven't had a great SpongeBob game since probably Truth or Square on the Xbox 360, which I remember hit me like a bus. That came out of nowhere. I bought it at a GameStop and thought, let's just see, ha ha ha, wait, this is really good, what's going on? So, did we have the same effect here with Cosmic Shake when the expectations were high? I'm here to tell you all that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into, say, nostalgic and retrospective content, or day one reviews like this on the occasion, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's get to talking about Cosmic Shake. So if I could describe this game in a sentence, I would say it's Battle for Bikini Bottom for a new generation with the spirit of Creature from the Krusty Krab. Now, SpongeBob SquarePants Creature from the Krusty Krab is what I'd like to call a very weird game, like just a complete acid trip of a video game. It just goes all over the place. It ditches a lot of the conventions that were founded in SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's not as much of a collectathon. It's more of a linear stage-to-stage kind of game with all fun, different gameplay activities. So you still have that wild, zany, crazy, acid trip-like nature here from Creature of the Krusty Krab, but you have the gameplay design of Battle for Bikini Bottom. So here's the story, here's how it all goes down, and then we'll get into the more important part, which is the gameplay. So pretty much what happens is SpongeBob and Patrick buy a magic bubble soap from a vendor called Cosmic Jelly. And this jelly actually ends up ripping open a ton of different realities. So now Bikini Bottom is flooded with bubble soap, and you have to save your friends from all of these new realities. There are 7 different realities in total, and each will take you about an hour or so to go through as they roll out new mechanics like using a lasso or jump kicking. Now, here's the thing, is as they introduce these new mechanics for the younger audience, by the way, because I'm not gonna fool myself that everyone watching this is around my age, but for the younger audience, for the parents looking to buy this game for their kids, this game has great tutorials. Anytime they introduce something new or it's been a while since they've seen a mechanic, they do reintroduce the tutorial. So a kid shouldn't get too confused, in my opinion, because it shows them how to do stuff pretty directly. That's not to say this is a hand-holding experience, like we're gonna guide you through everything. It gives you time and space to figure things out and to explore on your own. And it strikes that, I'd say, perfect balance that Battle for Bikini Bottom did between you can play and just do what you want, but also there's linearity to guide you. So there's a freedom there to figure things out, to learn the game, but also there's a guiding force when there are new mechanics introduced and how to use them. So don't worry too much about the little kiddo getting confused with this game. Now, as you're going through all these levels, you're gonna collect what's called Cosmic Jelly. Think of from Battle for Bikini Bottom, how you get those floral patterns, which were called shiny objects. That's pretty much what this is in this game, right? You get Cosmic Jelly, but the difference is you can go and buy costumes in Cosmic Shake. Now, these costumes are purely cosmetic, but they're fun because they're all callbacks from every single episode you can imagine in SpongeBob, from Caveman SpongeBob to Karate SpongeBob to Night SpongeBob from the medieval episodes. There are so many different renditions of SpongeBob in this game, and it was just awesome to see. So you go through and you can unlock that with the Cosmic Jelly. What this game doesn't have as you go from reality to reality is a similar gameplay structure to that of which is found in Battle for Bikini Bottom. What that is as you'd find golden spatulas in Battle for Bikini Bottom, you could unlock secret areas as well as new levels for the main story. So it encouraged you to double back, do some side objectives, or to just explore more, or you could just go on your merry way through the main story. That's not the case here. Just as you progress through through the game, you're going to unlock new realities. But as you unlock new realities, Bikini Bottom's gonna gradually clear up. Now, for Nintendo Switch users, this will kind of become a problem in a little bit, as I'll explain. But as it clears up, Bikini Bottom almost turns into a pseudo open world, and it started to get me really thinking about the possibilities there and maybe where Purple Lamp is heading toward, because that feels like a perfect fit. And this game opened my eyes to that. It's something I never once considered, but after playing this game and seeing how Bikini Bottom slowly becomes this cohesive open world, it's almost Dark Souls-like. You know, it's broken up into these fragments, and as doors open, you realize how interconnected things are. It's the same thing here. As certain parts of the bubble soap start to clear out and areas open up, you see how widely connected it is, and it's awesome. I love this part of the game because there are collectibles in each of these realities. And as you finish these realities, you're going to unlock side missions. So each level has their own set of collectibles. For example, there's the cosmic jelly I talked to you about. Then there's the golden spatulas. There's also the gold doubloons. These gold doubloons are important because as you get them, you'll unlock tiers, which can unlock more costumes. So say you get 4 gold doubloons, that'll unlock tier 4, and now you have all the tier 4 costumes. You get 5 more gold doubloons, you unlock tier 5 costumes, and so on and so forth. So that's probably the most important collectible. There's also finding Spot. This is like a underwater sea dog, and then each level has their own individual collectible that's tied to a side objective, which I think is awesome. So you can, for example, finish up a mission, then go and talk with Mrs. Puff, and she'll say, I need 5 of these. Go back to that level and you can go find more. That invokes the spirit of Battle for Bikini Bottom to me, because now it's telling me you can go back to, say, Rock Bottom and enjoy your time there again, finding the rest of the collectibles that were already there, plus new ones. So this game does have a sense of replayability that in some ways is as strong as Battle for Bikini Bottom, but also manages to set itself apart enough. As much as I love Battle for Bikini Bottom, I think we need to start separating ourselves from that as a SpongeBob game, because you don't want to just walk in line with it, or else you'll kind of risk ruining what was something that was very special when it first came out on the PS2. And I think this game thinks outside the box enough with some of its mechanics and its approach to levels and gameplay design that it manages to create its own identity. So the amount of collectibles here is appreciated, because at first when I was playing the game, I was thinking, oh boy, like there really aren't many here. As I went through the base levels, I was doing the fun gameplay objectives, but I'd find like 1 gold doubloon. I'd find maybe a golden spatula or 2, but that was it. And I'm thinking like, man, I get it's a lower budget game, 40 bucks, okay. But man, are there's not as many collectibles here? Is it just a 3D platforming SpongeBob game that's more linear level-to-level action, kind of like Creature from the Krusty Krab? But as I unlocked those side quests and I could double back and get more of those hidden objects, I was like, okay, good. There's a ton of collectibles in this game, and you'll have plenty to do. Is it Donkey Kong 64 level? No, it's not like they say, go back and find 80 of these. It's like 5, 7, 10 tops. And that's good. What you get in exchange, though, for this pseudo open world SpongeBob game with all these different realities is you gotta trade something in for this. And the trade in here was less interior related exploration like you'd find in Battle for Bikini Bottom. What I mean by that is, one of my favorite things about that game was you could go inside, say, the Krusty Krab. You could go inside the retirement home for Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. You could go inside the Chum Bucket. Like, you could go and interact with everything you saw on the show. This show has a degree of that, as they make 1,000,001 callbacks to episodes in a really smart, tongue-in-cheek kind of way. But you don't have that interior exploration there. So there's still a ton of fan service. It just comes in a different way. For me, as an exploration-driven gamer, right? Like, my favorite games of all time come from Bethesda Game Studios. So I love just going inside places and seeing what's going on. That just speaks to the soul, man. That really isn't here in this game. Not the death blow that I think some would imagine it being. It just takes a little bit of adjusting. But again, this is where I think the game starts to develop its own strengths, because while Battle for Bikini Bottom has great exploration, what this game has is fantastic realities. For example, you can get pulled into a reality where Squidward is a movie director and you're starring in his newest karate movie. So they'll play with the camera a bit, they'll do a side-scrolling action scene as you're running along, fighting enemies, and the camera starts moving quicker and quicker and quicker, and it's a fun little challenge, but it plays with the ideas enough, and so there's a ton of mini games as you're going through this, as Squidward is filming his masterpiece. It fits his character well, it's really funny, but it's also, more importantly, very different. It's not trying to be something else, it is its own thing. But to me, it doesn't step fully up to its ears deep in the weird territory that I think sometimes Creature of the Krusty Krab found itself in. Don't get me wrong, I dig the game, but I think sometimes it's a little too weird. This game, I don't think steps in that direction. The only time it does are these weird art pop-ups, like someone will talk about something and then they'll show just a close-up, high-definition, creepy level of art that I'm going, what is this? Why did we have to see this? And it, you know, the music kind of gets a little quiet when they show it. I think the idea is just, whoa, where did that come from? But it just snaps to it. There's no fade in, no gradual presentation of it. It's just click X, oh, there it is. Okay, wow, that came out of nowhere. But it's funny. I got a kick out of it, but that's the only weird Creature of the Krusty Krab energy I got from this game. Otherwise, the cutscenes are amazing, highly animated, highly detailed. The OG voice actors and actresses are all here. Something that you really couldn't say for these games, like for example, Mr. Krabs was done by some random dude and he didn't get any voice direction in the booth was his claim. And you could kind of tell.
Do you want to trade shiny objects for a golden spatula?
That's not my Mr. Krabs. What happened here? So just keep that in mind that the original actors and actresses are here all the way down to, I won't say who, but yes, even the miscellaneous characters. And that to me was an incredibly pleasant surprise. Also, last thing I'll say about the story, a lot of callbacks, a lot of callbacks here, but they didn't feel forced in. They were done so naturally that I loved it. You could just tell Purple Lamp is a bunch of SpongeBob fans, and I am so happy to see that. Like, you could just tell there's a love for that IP in that team. Now, here's where I said the Switch version gets a little complicated, and you may have already seen it in some of the gameplay. There are some bugs and glitches here. Particularly, frame drops pick up more and more as you get deeper into the game. Now, naturally with the Nintendo Switch, as things get busy, this thing just, it chugs, man, it chugs. But as you unlock different areas of Bikini Bottom, this thing starts to dip into the high teens, low 20s. Like, it's a pretty unsteady frame rate, and it can break up your experience a bit. Like, it becomes pretty noticeable, and it's hard to glance past. And it's funny because when it starts off, since there's only one part of the level visible, it's fine. But as you start going around, it really starts to tank a bit on the frame rate front. And that is noticeable. For some people, doesn't matter. For me, did it ruin my fun? No, but it was certainly there and present. Another thing that was present is texture pop-in, particularly when cutscenes start, you'd see things eventually fully loading in, but it would take a good second or two. And that's where you felt, again, the limitations of the Switch. I don't know if it's the same case for Xbox or PlayStation, but I'd imagine you stand a better chance over on that end than you do here on the Switch. Sometimes audio didn't play for dialogue for me. I don't know why this was the case. I just noticed it was something happening in the early going of the game, and it happened sometimes later in the game. It was just random spots. It didn't seem like anything triggered it. It just kind of happened. The music would keep playing, so I knew it wasn't like a headphones issue. It would just be the voice acting would cut out. It was really strange. Arguably the most impactful bug, though, if we're talking about a younger audience, is going to be the waypoint issues. So sometimes the game will tell you, hey, go over here, and you'll go over there, and nothing will be there, or you'll collect your objective and it won't say, okay, now go over there. It'll stay in the same area you're in. Kids are gonna follow that and go, what's going on here? Can't really have that. If there was any bug I feel like needs to be patched big time here, it's that one. I can deal with the performance hiccups. I can deal with the texture pop-in. That's all fine and dandy. Sometimes the audio not playing. Okay, whatever. But waypoints need to move. We need to make sure that is moving constantly, or it's an easy way for the player to get lost. Because the game's level design does lean on that a bit, that it's going to kind of gradually guide you from one place to the next. There is a degree of like see and go explore it that you'd find in typical more open-ended games, but this is following the waypoint the video game in some regard, and so you need that thing functioning just to generally know where the next place to go is. They overhauled combat in this game. What this means is that you only play as SpongeBob. It's not like Battle for Bikini Bottom where you get to play as Patrick and Sandy. I'm kind of lukewarm on this one. I think ultimately it panned out and it's fine, but I do hope in like the next SpongeBob game, hopefully that Purple Lamp works on, that they expand the roster a bit just to give more gameplay diversity. But I think they did a good job here and it didn't really ruin any part of my experience at all. It's just I'm lukewarm because all the special things about Battle for Bikini Bottom and the playable characters wasn't really the fan service part of, oh, I get to be Patrick, I get to be Sandy. It was more like they got to explore levels differently and find different collectibles that SpongeBob couldn't reach, or Patrick couldn't reach, or Sandy couldn't reach, and so on and so forth. So it gave these levels this inherent replayability. What happens in this game is, as I said earlier, you're going to complete these realities and unlock all these different mechanics, like a karate kick, for example. And this karate kick will let you zip to certain objects or dash kick to an enemy far away, so you can reach previously unreachable places. So this works out for the game, I think, personally, but it is a change. So you can dash to targets, you can glide now. You can actually fight enemies with multiple health bars. You can dodge roll. You can lasso to certain areas with like a fishing line. You can capture enemies in a bubble. So SpongeBob still has his bubble blowing kit from Battle for Bikini Bottom. So it still has that kind of energy, but they expand him quite a bit. What I'm hoping for in potentially game 2 from them, or really technically game 3, is that they look to add Sandy, they look to add Patrick, maybe Squidward, something along those lines, because by the end of the game, they're even still introducing new mechanics. So it certainly worked in the game's favor. I just think ultimately the next step forward from here are those playable characters and adding more of them. But the combat overhaul worked well. It is a little old school in design. Sometimes you'll take damage from an enemy who's already disappeared. Also, sometimes you can only attack enemies in very specific frames, like this hot tub enemy. He's going to swing around a bathtub, I should say, rather, and he's going to slam it on the ground. You can't hit him when he's vulnerable unless he actually is just resting after swinging at you with the bathtub. To me, that's where the game feels a little old school. There are also certain patterns that you can only hit enemies that are floating in the air if you hit them with a bubble or if you smack their attack back at them. I think as the encounter design expands, this is the part where the tutorials kind of fail you because they don't reintroduce those. I understand why, but I could see some kids getting a little confused at this or forgetting if they don't get to play the game for a while. But otherwise, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Cosmic Shake I think is an easy pickup. Whether you're a big Battle for Bikini Bottom fan or you're looking for a game for the young kiddo, you should probably pick this one up. It's $40. It takes you about 8 hours to go through. There's plenty more hours you can sink in to go back and get all the extra unlockables. I think the Platinum Trophy here is also pretty cool because they do give you a lot of unique challenges that involve like specific ways to take down bosses or little challenges to complete beyond just all of the collectibles. So I think they did a good job here. It's a great second step forward here for Purple Lamp, and I'm excited for the future of SpongeBob games. But that's all I have to say on Cosmic Shake. I'm really looking forward to seeing your thoughts on it in the comments down below. Are you planning on picking it up with me, you fellow man-childs? Let me know. Other than that, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.